Stop scrolling right now because what I'm about to tell you could literally transform how you read women's signals and change your entire understanding of female attraction forever. Right now, there's probably a woman in your life who is actively flirting with you, showing clear interest, and trying to get your attention. But she's doing it so subtly that you're completely missing every single signal she's sending. Here's what's going to blow your mind. The most powerful and effective flirting that women do doesn't involve words at all. They don't walk up to you and tell you they're interested. They don't make obvious verbal advances or use cheesy pickup lines. Instead, they communicate their attraction through incredibly sophisticated, nonverbal signals that most men never learn to recognize. You've probably been missing countless opportunities with women who were actively flirting with you because you didn't understand their subtle communication style. Maybe you thought she was just being friendly, or maybe you convinced yourself that if she was really interested, she would make it more obvious. But what if I told you that subtle flirting is actually the strongest indicator of genuine female interest? See, when women are genuinely attracted to someone, they often become more subtle in their approach, not more obvious. They use sophisticated nonverbal communication to test your interest, gauge your response, and create opportunities for connection without risking direct rejection. Understanding these signals is crucial for recognizing when women are actively pursuing you. The difference between recognizing subtle flirting and missing it entirely can determine whether you connect with women who are genuinely interested in you, or whether you let amazing opportunities slip by because you didn't understand what was happening right in front of you. Today, I'm going to reveal 6 specific ways that women flirt without saying a word. Subtle but powerful signals that indicate genuine interest and attraction. These aren't vague maybe signs that could mean anything. These are definitive nonverbal communications that women use when they want to let you know they're interested while maintaining plausible deniability. And here's the crazy part. If you start recognizing even 3 of these subtle flirting techniques in your interactions with women, you'll realize that you've probably been receiving way more interest than you ever knew. You might discover that women have been actively flirting with you for years without you realizing it. Pay attention, because once you understand how women really flirt without words, you'll never miss these signals again. You'll finally be able to recognize when someone is genuinely interested in you and respond appropriately to the attraction that's already there. Way 1. Extended eye contact with strategic looking away. This first way is incredibly powerful and happens constantly without most men recognizing it. When women flirt without words, they use eye contact in very specific patterns, making prolonged eye contact that lasts longer than normal social interaction, then strategically looking away in ways that invite you to look back at them. You might notice that she looks into your eyes for several seconds longer than feels casual, maintains eye contact while smiling, or with slight facial expressions that feel meaningful, or catches your eye from across a room and holds that gaze before looking away slowly and deliberately. This shows up in the timing and quality of the eye contact. It's not just quick glances or normal social eye contact. It's sustained, meaningful looks that feel charged with intention, followed by looking away in ways that seem designed to make you want more of that visual connection. But here's what makes this flirting technique so effective. Extended eye contact creates intimacy and attraction, while the strategic looking away creates desire for more. It's a push-pull dynamic that builds tension and makes you think about her, even when she's not looking at you. The psychology behind this is that sustained eye contact triggers attraction and bonding hormones, while the strategic withdrawal of that contact creates longing and desire. When women use this pattern deliberately, they're creating a powerful attraction loop. You'll also notice that when she looks away, she often does it with a small smile, a glance down, or a look to the side that feels coy and intentional rather than accidental or dismissive, indicating that the looking away is part of the flirting strategy rather than disinterest. Way 2. Playful physical positioning and proximity. Here's a way that women flirt without words that's incredibly effective. They use their physical positioning and proximity to create attraction and connection. They position themselves closer to you than necessary, mirror your posture, and use their body language to create intimacy and suggest interest. You might notice that she finds reasons to stand or sit closer to you than the situation requires, leans in when talking or listening to you, mirrors your body position and movements, or positions herself so that you're naturally facing each other or in close proximity. This shows up in how she manages physical space during interactions. Instead of maintaining standard social distance, she creates opportunities for closer proximity, aligns her body with yours, and uses positioning to create a sense of intimacy and connection. But here's what makes this flirting technique so powerful. Physical proximity and mirroring create subconscious feelings of connection and attraction. When women position themselves strategically, they're using space and body language to communicate interest and create romantic tension. The psychology here is that we naturally feel more connected to people who are physically closer to us and who mirror our body language. When women use positioning strategically, they're triggering these natural attraction responses. You'll notice that this strategic positioning often comes with other positive body language like open posture, leaning toward you rather than away, and positioning that makes conversation and eye contact easy and natural rather than awkward or forced. Way 3. Subtle touches and contact creation. This way of wordless flirting is incredibly revealing and creates immediate romantic tension. Women who are flirting will find socially acceptable ways to create brief physical contact, touching your arm when laughing, brushing against you when walking, or finding excuses for brief, appropriate touches that communicate interest. You might notice that she touches your arm or shoulder when emphasizing points in conversation, finds reasons for brief contact when passing things to you, brushes against you in ways that feel slightly intentional, or creates moments of physical connection that feel natural but happen more frequently than with other people. This shows up in moments where physical contact occurs during normal interaction, but feels charged with meaning, and happens more often than typical social contact would warrant. The touches are brief, appropriate, and deniable, but create connection and attraction. But here's what makes this flirting technique so effective. Appropriate physical touch releases bonding hormones and creates attraction while remaining socially acceptable. It's a way for women to test your receptivity to physical connection without crossing obvious boundaries. The psychology behind this is that touch is one of the most powerful ways to create attraction and emotional connection. When women create opportunities for appropriate contact, they're building romantic tension and testing your response to physical intimacy. You'll also notice that when she creates these touches, she often maintains eye contact, smiles, or seems to enjoy the moment of connection, indicating that the contact is intentional and meaningful rather than purely accidental. Way 4. Expressive facial communication and micro-expressions. Here's a sophisticated way that women flirt without words. They use facial expressions, micro-expressions, and subtle changes in their appearance to communicate interest and create attraction. This includes everything from strategic smiling to expressive reactions that draw your attention. You might notice that she has particularly expressive reactions to things you say, uses smiles that seem more genuine and engaging than her normal social expressions, raises her eyebrows or shows surprise in exaggerated ways when you're talking, or uses facial expressions that seem designed to be noticed and responded to. This shows up in the quality and timing of her facial expressions during interactions with you. Her reactions seem more animated, more genuine, and more expressive than they are with other people, creating a sense that your interactions are more meaningful and engaging to her. But here's what makes this flirting technique so powerful. Expressive facial communication creates emotional connection and makes interactions feel more intimate and personal. When women use their expressions strategically, they're making you feel special and creating attraction through emotional engagement. The psychology here is that expressive faces are more attractive and create stronger emotional bonds. When women are more expressive with you, they're creating the kind of emotional connection that builds attraction and makes you want to continue interacting. You'll notice that these expressions often seem to invite response. She might look expectant after smiling, seem to wait for your reaction to her expressions, or use facial communication in ways that clearly invite you to engage and respond to her emotional expressions. Way 5. Strategic hair and self-touching behaviors. This way of wordless flirting involves using self-touching behaviors, particularly with hair, to draw attention and create visual interest. Women who are flirting will unconsciously or consciously touch their hair, adjust their appearance, or engage in self-touching behaviors that draw your eye and create attraction. You might notice that she plays with her hair while talking to you, touches her neck or face during conversation, adjusts her clothing or jewelry in ways that draw attention to her appearance, or engages in grooming behaviors that seem designed to make her look more attractive. This shows up in moments during conversation where she engages in these self-touching behaviors while maintaining interaction with you. The behaviors often seem unconscious, but happen more frequently when she's talking to you than when she's interacting with others. But here's what makes this flirting technique so effective. These behaviors draw visual attention to attractive features and create unconscious attraction through movement and self-presentation. They're also often unconscious indicators of attraction and nervous energy. The psychology behind this is that self-touching behaviors, particularly hair touching, are natural responses to attraction and create visual interest that draws attention. When women engage in these behaviors around you, they're often responding to their own attraction while also creating attraction in you. You'll also notice that these behaviors often come with eye contact and seem to be timed with conversation in ways that draw your attention to her physical presence and appearance during meaningful moments in your interaction. Way 6. Vocal tonality and nonverbal sounds. This final way that women flirt without words involves using their voice in strategic ways, changing their tone, using specific vocal patterns, or making nonverbal sounds that communicate interest and attraction without actually saying anything directly flirtatious. You might notice that her voice becomes softer or more melodic when talking to you. She uses vocal inflections that seem more expressive and engaging. She makes small sounds of agreement or interest that encourage you to continue talking, or her overall vocal presence seems more animated and attractive. This shows up in the quality and tone of her voice during interactions with you compared to how she sounds when talking to others. Her voice might become more feminine, more expressive, or more engaging in ways that make conversation feel more intimate and personal. But here's what makes this flirting technique so powerful. Vocal tonality has a profound effect on attraction and emotional connection. When women modulate their voice strategically, they're creating subconscious attraction and making interactions feel more romantic and engaging. The psychology here is that we're naturally attracted to certain vocal qualities and tones that suggest femininity, interest, and emotional availability. When women use their voice strategically, they're triggering these natural attraction responses. You'll notice that these vocal changes often come with other flirting behaviors like eye contact and smiling, creating a complete package of nonverbal communication that clearly indicates interest and attraction without requiring any direct verbal expression. The psychology of subtle female flirting. Understanding why women flirt subtly without words requires recognizing that this approach allows them to communicate interest while maintaining plausible deniability and social safety. Subtle flirting lets them test your interest and gauge your response without risking direct rejection. Women often prefer subtle flirting because it's sophisticated, allows for gradual escalation, and gives both people room to save face if the interest isn't mutual. It's a way to communicate attraction while maintaining social grace and avoiding potential embarrassment. The most effective female flirting is often subtle because it requires emotional intelligence to recognize and respond to, which means that men who can read these signals are seen as more socially aware and attractive. What these signals mean for your response. If you're recognizing these subtle flirting behaviors in your interactions with women, It's a clear indication that they're interested and hoping you'll pick up on their signals and respond appropriately. Understanding these cues should give you confidence to reciprocate and escalate appropriately. The key is responding to subtle flirting with your own subtle signals initially, then gradually becoming more direct as you confirm mutual interest. Match her energy and escalate slowly rather than jumping to obvious responses that might feel jarring. Reading the overall pattern. The most important thing about recognizing subtle flirting is looking at the combination of these behaviors, rather than focusing on any single signal. When multiple subtle flirting techniques are present consistently, it creates a clear pattern of interest and attraction. Pay attention to how these signals work together to create an overall atmosphere of flirtation and interest, rather than trying to analyze each behavior in isolation. Responding appropriately to subtle flirting. When you recognize that someone is flirting with you subtly, the appropriate response is to reciprocate with your own subtle signals while gradually becoming more direct as you confirm mutual interest. This might include returning eye contact, matching her energy, and eventually making more direct moves. The goal is to acknowledge her subtle communication while taking the lead and moving the interaction forward in positive directions that honor the interest she's expressing. Building on subtle attraction. When women are flirting with you subtly, it indicates that there's genuine interest and attraction that you can build on. Focus on creating opportunities for continued interaction, escalating appropriately, and building the connection that her subtle flirting has initiated. Remember that subtle flirting often indicates someone who appreciates sophistication and emotional intelligence, so continue to match that level of sophistication in your responses. Final thoughts. Recognizing hidden interest. The most important thing to remember about subtle female flirting is that it represents genuine interest and attraction that's being communicated in sophisticated, nuanced ways. When women flirt without words, they're trusting you to be emotionally intelligent enough to recognize and respond to their signals. If you're seeing these subtle flirting behaviors consistently from someone, trust that she's genuinely interested and respond with appropriate confidence and reciprocation. Don't dismiss subtle signals as just being friendly when they're actually clear indicators of attraction. Pay attention to the sophisticated ways that women communicate interest, and develop your ability to recognize and respond to subtle flirting. This skill will dramatically improve your success with women who use intelligent, nuanced communication to express their attraction and interest.